There is something deeply mysterious about falling asleep while we pray. Padre Pio used to say that prayer is the breath of the soul. And I find myself wondering, what happens when we fall asleep in that breath? Does the soul go silent? Does heaven abandon us? Or could it be that, in the quiet of our weary body, something even more secret continues to unfold within us? These questions are not trivial because they touch the real experience of those who, night after night, try to pray the Rosary and find themselves overcome by sleep. Many of us carry a silent guilt. It's as if we are constantly measuring our prayer by the level of attention or effort we give. When we fall asleep, we think we have failed, that we have disappointed God, that we were unable to remain faithful. But what if it isn't really like that? What if sleep is not merely a sign of weakness, but also a message? Perhaps a revelation of what is happening inside us. Perhaps even a visit of grace that our mind cannot fully grasp, but our heart senses. The Rosary is not a list of words. It is a battlefield. Mind, body, and soul confront one another with each Hail Mary. With every bead, something within us is challenged. The flesh resists, the mind drifts, yet the soul persists. It is precisely in this inner clash that sleep often appears, not simply as rest, but as a veil over the invisible. A veil that can conceal both a spiritual struggle and a silent surrender. When I think of Jesus in Gethsemane, I see a mirror. The disciples fell asleep during the greatest vigil in history. The Master asked them to watch with him, but the flesh was too weak to sustain the intensity of that moment. There, sleep was not merely biological. It was an expression of humanity's difficulty in bearing the weight of the eternal. What happened to them is not so far from what happens to us. The spirit desires, but the body yields. So I ask you, is it really just fatigue? Just weakness? Or is there something deeper hidden behind this sleep that interrupts our prayer? Perhaps it is a sign of battle, perhaps a gesture of surrender, perhaps even a call to see our prayer in a new way. Falling asleep during the Rosary is not coincidence. It is a spiritual event that deserves to be regarded with care, compassion, and faith. Because even in the silence of the body, the soul continues to breathe, and God continues to listen. There is an invisible dimension that unfolds every time we enter into prayer. Often, we think that praying is just about speaking words or keeping the mind focused, but deep down, prayer is always a collision of worlds. The visible and invisible, the flesh and the spirit, time and eternity. When we fall asleep during the Rosary, we are not simply giving in to fatigue. We are revealing that a battle is happening inside us, a struggle of the soul to stay connected to the sacred, even when everything around it pushes toward distraction. Padre Pio said that the devil fears the Rosary. And if he fears it, he will do everything to break that chain of prayer. One of his most subtle weapons is sudden sleep, appearing just as we begin to immerse ourselves in the repetition of Hail Marys. It is no coincidence. It is strategy. The enemy knows that each prayer weakens his attacks, and so he tries to smother the flame of prayer, not with visible noises, but with gentle slumber that seems natural, yet interrupts the spiritual flow. And here lies a dangerous misconception, interpreting this sleep merely as human weakness. When we believe that, we fall into the trap of undervaluing our prayer, thinking we lack the strength and that perhaps it is not worth continuing. That is the true poison, a mistaken interpretation that paralyzes us, leading us to believe that God does not value a prayer that is interrupted. It is here that we forget that, often, it is in the effort and resistance that the value of prayer multiplies. The image that comes to mind is that of a soldier in a trench. Imagine him, weary, exhausted, trying to keep his eyes open through the darkest night. He knows he cannot sleep, yet the body insists. If he falls asleep, the field becomes vulnerable. So it is with us. When sleep takes hold during the Rosary, we become exposed to distraction, fragile to inner fall. Not because prayer loses its value, but because spiritual vigilance is interrupted at the very moment it is most needed. That is why sleep in prayer should not be seen as an unimportant detail. It is a sign that the soul is engaged in battle. It is like a flag raised to show us that something much greater is occurring, something the eyes cannot see but the heart can perceive. Instead of shame or discouragement, this sleep should awaken a new awareness in us. We are in combat. And in this combat, each Hail Mary spoken, even before sleep arrives, carries eternal weight before God. There is a truth many realize too late. Life does not accumulate in tomorrow, it unfolds in the now. Every breath you take is a silent reminder that time does not wait. Yet, how often do we delay conversations, dreams, and steps, believing that a better moment will come? That moment never arrives, because the only time possible to live is this very instant, pulsing before you. The present moment is the only space where transformation occurs. Not in the past, where guilt and longing try to hold you. Not in the future, where anxiety paints scenarios that may never exist. It is here, now, in the silence between one thought and the next, that your life is shaped. But if you are distracted, this moment slips through your fingers like fine sand, and you only notice once it cannot be reclaimed. The most striking thing is realizing that the present is never grand in appearance. It hides in small gestures, a glance, a word, a choice. It is not the great achievement that builds your life, but the sum of the small acts you decide to live fully. Greatness lies in recognizing that, by embracing this moment with truth, you are creating eternity. The illusion of tomorrow may be the greatest trap of the mind. It whispers, "Later you will do it, later you will change, later you will love." And while you allow yourself to be lulled by that voice, today slips away. Tomorrow is only a hypothesis. Now, this moment is the certainty. And it is here, in this very moment, that life truly happens. If you want to understand the power of the present, close your eyes for a second and feel your heart beat. That rhythm is proof that you are alive now, not at some time in the future. It is the silent music that sustains your existence. If you learn to listen to its cadence, you will realize there is no reason to wait another day. Life is happening in this exact moment, and everything that matters is already before you. The cost of postponement. Putting off decisions seems harmless, but gradually it creates an invisible weight that traps the soul. Each "I'll do it tomorrow" accumulates like stones in the backpack of life. And before we know it, we no longer walk freely, but drag chains of broken promises to ourselves. The price of postponement lies not only in what we fail to accomplish, but also in the identity we build, that of someone who never fulfills, never completes, never moves forward. This internal slowness creates a cycle of frustration and low self-esteem. The mind begins to believe that perhaps we are not capable, when in truth the reality is different. We simply allow ourselves to be defeated by the habit of delay. Every task left undone opens a silent wound. Small, yes, but it adds to so many others until it forms a vast emptiness inside us, stealing joy and energy. When we postpone what is essential, we lose opportunities that never return. How many times has a chance for reconciliation, growth, or transformation knocked at the door, only to be set aside with a simple "later"? Time does not wait, and many doors that are open today close without warning. This is the secret pain of postponement. It kills slowly, silently. Behind the habit of delaying, there is an illusion of control. We believe tomorrow will be more favorable, that circumstances will align. But tomorrow never arrives as we imagine. The only solid reality we have is this moment. Postponing is exchanging the concrete for the imagined, life for a dream, now for never. Recognizing the cost of postponement is the first step to awakening. Every deferred choice charges interest in the future. But every choice made today, no matter how small, plants roots of transformation. The secret is understanding that life does not demand great leaps, but small steps taken at the right time, and the right time is always now. Time does not wait. Have you noticed how time silently slips through your fingers? A day may feel long, but looking back, weeks, months, even years have vanished in the blink of an eye. This is the invisible power of time. It never stops, never delays, never waits for us to be ready. It simply moves forward. And within this continuous flow, the only thing we truly possess is now. Many live believing they will always have a new chance, another moment, a guaranteed tomorrow. But this is life's greatest illusion. Tomorrow is a promise that does not exist, only an idea created by the mind to postpone decisions that demand courage in the present. The truth is that life unfolds in this instant, and every second of hesitation is a piece of our future dissolving forever. If you pay attention, you will see that the greatest pains do not come from what we have done, but from what we have left undone. The silence of an opportunity unseized. The absence of a word left unspoken. The emptiness of a dream that never became reality. All of this accumulates as an invisible weight that, over time, becomes hard to carry. Life is like a breath. And when we understand this, time ceases to be an enemy and becomes a teacher. It teaches us not to waste minutes on meaningless distractions, not to trap our hearts in regrets, and not to wait for the perfect scenario to act. Because the perfect moment is now. The perfect is what lies before you. When you live aware that time does not wait, life gains intensity. Every gesture, every word, every decision becomes sacred. And it is in this state of presence that the greatest transformations occur. Not tomorrow, but today, in this exact instant when you breathe and realize that time, silently, continues to pass. The invisible weight of choices. Every decision you make is like a seed planted in the earth. Some sprout quickly, others remain hidden until time reveals their fruits. What you choose today, even in the smallest gestures, shapes the landscape of tomorrow. This is the invisible weight we carry, being the authors of our own paths. It is easy to believe that small choices do not matter, but it is precisely they that silently shape our destiny. Life is transformed not only in great moments, but in the everyday details. The way you speak, the thoughts you nurture, the habits you repeat unconsciously. Each of these points creates vibrations that accumulate and determine the direction in which you move. Nothing is neutral. Even what you fail to do carries consequences that echo through time. Often, we chase quick changes, yet forget that the greatest miracles arise from the accumulation of consistent choices. Like drops that slowly form a river, our daily decisions shape the depth of the life we live. The tomorrow we long for is already being sculpted now, in the quiet of the choices we make in this present moment. There is a kind of responsibility that does not shout, but whispers, "What you plant, you will harvest." This whisper is constant, even when drowned out by the distractions of the world. When you awaken to this truth, you realize you are not merely living the present. You are writing future memories, creating reflections that inevitably return to you. The real question is not whether your choices carry weight, but whether you are aware of that weight. Because, whether you like it or not, it is already shaping your life. And if every decision is a seed, the unavoidable question is, what fruits do you wish to reap? This question becomes an inner call, capable of transforming the way you see even the very moment you are living now. The illusion that time will always be available. We live as if tomorrow were guaranteed, but in truth, it has never been promised to anyone. How often do we postpone an important decision, a sincere conversation, or a necessary change? Human beings create the illusion that we will always have all the time in the world, yet life reveals itself as fleeting, fragile, and unpredictable. The notion of "I'll do it tomorrow" is a quiet trap that lulls dreams to sleep and paralyzes the spirit. Believing that there will always be a new chance places us in a comfort zone disguised as security. Yet life does not move according to our conveniences. Every passing moment does not return, and before we know it, years have gone by without taking the steps we longed to take. This illusion of infinite time turns many into spectators of their own lives, watching opportunities slip away. When we delay something, we deceive ourselves with the idea that we are waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, the right moment never comes ready-made. it is built through our courage to act now. Tomorrow is only a reflection of what we lacked the bravery to do today. Life becomes a succession of postponements that eventually lead to regret. This illusion also creates an inner weight. We hold grudges that could have been healed. We cultivate silences that could have turned into reconciliation. We fail to say, "I love you," to those who might not be here tomorrow. Each delay feeds an emotional and spiritual debt that, sooner or later, demands its price. Recognizing the fragility of time is awakening to real life. When we understand that tomorrow is not guaranteed, we learn to live more deeply in the present. Now ceases to be just another moment and becomes the sacred space where everything can be transformed. Life does not happen tomorrow. It pulses here, in this very moment, and within it lies the key to change. The silence that reveals. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of answers that hurry and distraction never allow us to perceive. When we place ourselves in prayer, seeking a deep connection, the world tries to steal every instant with subtle noises and persistent thoughts. Yet there are moments when the body gives in, eyes close, and the mind relaxes. It is in this silence, often mistaken for weakness, that the soul finds space to reveal itself. Padre Pio said that continuous prayer, even when interrupted by sleep, is never lost. It transforms into something invisible, yet present, acting on the soul silently. It is as if every Hail Mary spoken, even with the body at rest, plants seeds of light that slowly germinate in the heart. Silence, therefore, is not defeat. It is a space of preparation, where the invisible grows stronger. When we allow ourselves this silence, we perceive truths that were previously hidden. We discover internal weaknesses, patterns of resistance, and fears that block our growth. Sleep or pause is not a sign of failure, but an invitation to observe what needs healing, so that prayer is not just repetition, but true surrender. The analogy is clear. Imagine a candle burning, even when you are not watching. The light does not vanish. It continues its work silently. So it is with us. Even when the body yields, prayer continues mysteriously, acting where consciousness cannot reach. This silence is an opportunity for inner listening. It is here that the heart learns to distinguish between what is urgent and what is essential, between the distractions of the world and the presence of God. When we understand this, we realize that every pause, every moment of sleep during prayer, carries a transformative power, a presence that continues shaping our life deeply and invisibly. The weight of inner resistance. Often, falling asleep during prayer reveals more about us than about physical fatigue. There is a silent resistance dwelling in the heart, an internal tension that prevents full surrender. The body gives way, but the soul feels the effort to stay alert, not to get lost in the flow of life. It is as if an invisible force pushes us out of the present, away from the true surrender that prayer demands. This resistance is not merely a lack of discipline, it is fear. Fear of confronting inner truths, facing our own fragility, looking inward and acknowledging what we try to hide from ourselves. Padre Pio observed that many souls become distracted not from laziness, but because they fear the silence and depth it brings. Sleep, in this context, is an unconscious form of protection, a pause in the face of the weight awakened by God's presence. Sleep then becomes a living metaphor. It reveals that prayer is not just about words or the movement of lips. It is about the full surrender of mind, body, and spirit. When we resist, often without realizing it, our body finds an escape, and many times, that escape shows up as sleep. It is a subtle reminder that there are still inner battles to face, even in the most sacred practices. Jesus shows us this same reality in Gethsemane. He asked for vigilance but found the disciples asleep under the weight of prayer. There, sleep is not blameworthy, it is revealing. It shows that human resistance, however determined, has limits, and that God embraces this fragility without abandoning it, allowing each moment of weakness to also be a space for learning and growth. Recognizing this resistance is an essential step. It is to see one's own sleep as a message, not as failure. It is to understand that each moment of dozing during prayer carries an invitation to a deeper comprehension of what still needs to be healed, aligned, and accepted. The weight of inner resistance is not a final obstacle but an opportunity to awaken the soul's awareness, even in the silence of the body. The Rosary that continues even in sleep. There is a truth many do not know. Even when we fall asleep during prayer, the Rosary continues. Not visibly, but in a mystical and powerful way, carrying intention and faith. Padre Pio affirmed that the guardian angel accompanies every Hail Mary we begin with sincerity, completing what the body cannot finish. This is a silent mystery, yet deeply comforting, revealing divine fidelity in the face of our fragility. Understanding this, we realize there is no need for guilt or self-reproach. Each moment of sleep during prayer does not erase what has already been offered. On the contrary, every word spoken, even before the body yields to rest, retains its eternal weight. It is as if the prayer is sown into fertile ground, germinating invisibly in the heart of God, growing in depth and strength even when we do not perceive it. The comfort lies in knowing that our imperfection does not prevent the divine work from acting. Every sincere beginning of prayer is a true offering, and heaven completes what human weakness interrupts. It is not the number of words or physical state that determines the Rosary's value, but the intention that beats in the heart and the faithfulness to return whenever possible. This perspective changes how we view sleep during prayer. It ceases to be a sign of failure and becomes a reminder of God's quiet care. Even when the body falters, the soul is accompanied, sustained, and strengthened. Every Hail Mary, every meditated mystery, remains active, like invisible seeds that bloom over time and with grace. Understanding that the Rosary continues even during sleep transforms the practice into a living, profound experience. It invites trust in the divine presence that never fails, completes, and sustains. And so, every moment of rest during prayer ceases to be an interruption and becomes part of the continuous flow of connection between our soul and the sacred, where even in human fragility, divine strength remains unshakable. When sleep reveals what needs healing. Sleeping during prayer is often more than physical fatigue. It is a silent reflection of what needs care in the soul. The body speaks, and the soul listens. Sleep can reveal accumulated emotional exhaustion, anxiety left unrelieved, or hearts fragmented that have yet to find peace. It is a discreet signal that something needs healing, something that requires attention before prayer can flow fully and deeply. It is a mistake to think prayer works only through conscious effort. Full surrender requires the presence of body, mind, and spirit. When these elements are misaligned, sleep arises as a natural interruption but also as an opportunity for understanding. It forces us to pause, notice what has been neglected, and welcome the parts of ourselves not yet ready to face the light of prayer. The review of the day becomes a sacred act. Before praying, it is as if we can offer every burden, every worry, every fragment of anxiety to Mary's heart, preparing the ground so the Rosary is not stifled by internal tensions. This care turns sleep into restorative rest, spiritual alignment, a space for regeneration that strengthens prayer even when we are not fully conscious. Sleep, then, ceases to be an escape. It becomes part of the process of healing and transformation. It reveals what needs attention, points out areas of fragility, and reminds us that prayer is not merely mechanical repetition, but living communication with the divine. It is a signal that something inside still needs to be welcomed, respected, and healed for prayer to become whole, powerful, and true. This understanding changes how we relate to every moment of fatigue. Each time we fall asleep during the Rosary, we are not failing. We are revealing inner layers that require care. And when we acknowledge this silent message, we turn sleep into a tool of restoration, allowing our prayer to be more authentic, deep, and connected to the grace that sustains us even in moments of weakness. The Rosary that awakens the soul. I return to Padre Pio's words, the Rosary is the most powerful weapon to touch the heart of God. Every Hail Mary, every meditated mystery, even when interrupted by sleep, retains its power. Sleeping during prayer is not random, it is revelation. It may signal a silent battle, a confident surrender, or something within that needs healing. Prayer is not lost, even when the body yields. Jesus shows us through his disciples in Gethsemane that humanity is fragile under the weight of spiritual vigilance. Even while sleeping, they remained loved and accompanied. In the same way, God stays close to us during the Rosary. He does not withdraw when our strength fails. On the contrary, he upholds every sincere effort, completes what we cannot, and turns moments of fragility into spaces for growth. Each time we fall asleep during prayer, it is as if we place our intention in a divine incubator. The seed we plant germinates silently, even without our awareness. Heaven continues the work we began, the spiritual labor goes on, and the soul receives nourishment beyond human comprehension. This is the quiet and consoling mystery of prayer. Human weakness does not prevent divine action. The practice of perseverance becomes more important than the perfection of execution. God values the faithfulness and constancy of the heart more than the alertness of the mind. Every gesture, however small, every Hail Mary offered, even when interrupted by sleep, is received as a precious offering. True prayer is measured by the heart that surrenders, not by the body that remains awake. In the end, sleeping during the Rosary ceases to bring guilt or anxiety. It becomes an opportunity for introspection, learning, and surrender. It is proof that our humanity, fragile as it may be, is welcomed, transformed, and strengthened by grace. Every moment of prayer, even silent or interrupted, contributes to the awakening of the soul, showing that faithfulness and sincere intention always prevail before God.